Welcome to Skill ASC channel. So what are arithmetic progressions? To make it easier to understand, first of all we are going to see few examples, then we will take the definition of arithmetic progressions. First of all we see this sequence which consists of 7, 9, 11 and 13. You must know that 7, 9, 11 and 13, these all are terms. These all are called as terms. 7 is first term, 9 is second term, 11 is third term and 13 is fourth term. You must also know that what are consecutive terms. Consecutive terms are the terms which are nearest to each other. You see, in this sequence 7 and 9 are consecutive terms because 7 and 9 are nearest to each other. Similarly, 9 and 11 are consecutive terms and 11 and 13 are consecutive terms. But you see, 7 and 11 are not nearest to each other. 9 is coming in between them. So 7 and 11 are not consecutive terms. Now we come to the sequence. Now what we have to do is, we have to calculate the difference between each of the consecutive terms. Now what I mean is, we have to calculate the difference between these two consecutive terms and these two consecutive terms and these two consecutive terms. You see, we have to calculate the difference between 7 and 9. These two are consecutive terms, and then we have to calculate difference between 9 and 11. These two are consecutive terms, and then we calculate difference between 11 and 13. These two are consecutive terms. Now we calculate the difference. The difference between these two is 9 minus 7, that is 2, and 11 minus, the difference between these two is 11 minus 9, that is 2. Now the difference between 11 and 13, we calculate it as 13 minus 11, that is 2. Now you see, the difference, all of the difference are 2. Since all of the differences are 2, which means these all are these all difference are equal. So this is an AP. Since all the differences are equal, this is called an AP. This sequence is called as AP. Now we go to the next sequence. This sequence consists of minus 9, minus 15, minus 21 and minus 27. Now same as the above, we will calculate the difference between minus 9 and minus 15, then minus 15 and minus 21, and then minus 21 and minus 27. Now the difference between minus 9 and minus 15 is minus 15 minus 9, that is minus 6. Now similarly, the difference between minus 15 and minus 21 will be minus 6. We calculate it as minus 21 minus 15. And the difference between these two is minus 27 minus 21, that is minus 6. You see, these all are the differences. Since all the differences are minus 6, which are equal, that means this sequence is an AP. Now we go to the next example, that is next sequence. This sequence consists of 0.3, 0.7, 1.1 and 1.7. Now same as above, we calculate the difference between these two terms and these two terms and these two terms. Now the difference between these two terms, 0.3 and 0.7, is 0.7 minus 0.3, that is 0.4. And the difference between 1.1 and 0.7 is 0.4. And the difference between these two is 1.7 minus 1.1, that is 0.6. Now you notice here, these two differences are 0.4 and 0.4, and this difference is 0.6. You see, all the differences are not equal. Since these two differences are equal, but these two differences are not equal to this difference. This is 0.6. So this is not an AP. Not a AP. Since the differences are not equal. Now we come to the next sequence. We calculate differences between these two terms, then these two terms, and then these two terms. The difference between 2 and 3 by 2 is, we calculate it as 3 by 2, that is half. Now the difference between these two is 5 by 2 minus 2, that is half. And then the difference between 3 and 5 by 2 is 3 minus 5 by 2 is half. So you see, these are the differences. We notice here that all the differences are half. That is, all the differences are equal. So this sequence is an AP. Now, according to the examples we have studied above, we can form a definition of AP, which will be stated as: a sequence is called an AP if the difference between each of its consecutive terms is equal or constant. You see, if the difference between each of its consecutive terms, these were the difference. You see, we have found out the difference 0.4, 0.4 and 0.6, and here we have found out the differences were half, half and half. These were the differences between two consecutive terms. So you see, if the difference between consecutive terms was equal, then it was an AP. So here we have written as if the difference between each of its consecutive term is equal, and here the difference between each of its consecutive term was equal. So this was an AP. So it is an AP, and that is how we form an AP. I mean to say that this is the definition of AP. I hope you have understood it. Thank you.